Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel. These next series of talks I shall do on the Navamsha, the D9 chart of Jyotish or Vedic astrology. Many people on my YouTube channel have commented and asked for more content on the Navamsha. So here we go. Because in Jyotish, in the traditional Vedic astrology system, most astrologers in India will consult and tell you about the Navamsha. The natal chart and Navamsha, that pretty much wraps up everything that they will say about your life, about your married life, about going forward in life and how you actually function. So what is the Navamsha? Essentially, Navamsha is the internal self. You have an external self called the natal chart, and you have the Navamsha, which is the internal chart. Okay, think of it this way. And I shall speak of this more and more as we go along, but just flow with me here. Navamsha is your internal self, how you function on the inside. And all the classical text and all the Jyotish interpretations speak of commonly of this, that the Navamsha kicks in your life. It becomes almost like your natal chart after you reach the Saturn maturity age, which is 30 years of age. So essentially speaking, from the Jyotish point of view, you get mature only after 30 years of age. Till then you're pretty much fumbling around with everything that you've got in your chart. So, but the internal self has to come out to play in the external world. Think of this way. Navamsha is that which is you on the inside. Only you know this. Your deepest, darkest secrets and your awesome power all rest inside you. And it comes out to play in the world in a certain way. That's the Navamsha. So let's begin with Aries Navamsha, the first one. It will carry all the characteristics of Aries itself. Okay, remember this first. It carries all the characteristics of Aries. Aries is a beginner. Aries is an initiator. The entire zodiac begins with Aries, is the initiator. As even Bharani and Ashwini nakshatras, for example, they are initiators of something. So they start from absolute scratch. They have everything going on which they must initiate stuff. And planets, of course, take on the color of that particular Navamsha they sit in. Just like the natal chart, there's not much of a difference there. All the karakas, all the play of planets happens according to the coloring of the Navamsha sign also. Therefore, Aries being the initiator, if Mercury is placed there, you might want to start conversations. You're a conversation starter. If Mars is placed there, it becomes really strong and you want to take action. You're an action-oriented person. How do I achieve this? What are the goals and targets? Your mental propensity is directed towards such things. If Mars falls in Aries Navamsha, let's say if we already covered Mercury, so let's say if Venus falls there, your spouse might be inclined towards having a very initiator, bold kind of a man or a woman. And the marriage aspects kick in. Why? This is another deep part of it. Before I get into the other planets, you can listen up the further podcast analysis. Why do we say in Jyotish that Navamsha is that which kicks in after marriage? When doing Jyotish kind of synastry, why do we speak of Navamsha as the governing principle? Well, when you get married or when you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, when you are intimate with another human being, let's just put it simply, what kicks in really? Other than you get naked in your physical self with the other person, they know all your sneezes, they know all your body smells, they know all your habits, daily habits, they live with you. So you are really exposed to the other person in every form and fashion, not just physical. They know what your moods are early in the morning, they know what your day is like, what kind of an individual you are internally speaking. You have an intimate contact of that with the external person, isn't it? Their internal self is exposed to your internal self. That's why they consult this chart after marriage. So whatever post-marriage synastry you want to examine the D9 or the Navamsha itself. Okay? Very important, very, very crucial, and I shall go more on this later. But let's get back to Aries Navamsha. Aries is very poor, Rashi. In the sense, it is beginning everything. Think of it that way. It's a beginner. It doesn't have any resources. It's the first house. Resources you start accumulating in the second house of Taurus, isn't it? Aries is starting the whole process. So this is a very independent kind of Rashi or zodiac sign. No one is going to help you here. You are the beginner here. You are your biggest enemy over here. So when you have desires in control in Aries Navamsha, only then it will give good results. Aries is subject to a lot of distractions in Navamsha. Whatever planet is placed here, if Saturn is placed here, is really frustrated. It has to start something new, otherwise it keeps getting restless. And there is a distraction of the five senses. There is no benchmark in the sign of Aries. It's very, very independent. You are not going to listen to anyone else here, whatever planets are placed here. If it's Venus, your spouse is not going to listen to you. Simple. So evaluate Aries as very, very highly independent, very highly active, very prone to distractions of all kinds. You will tell people, depending upon what planet is sitting here, I'm going to do it. This is how I'm going to do it in my life. I don't care what other people think. I don't care what society thinks, people around me think. I am the one who is going to initiate. That's what planets placed in Aries Navamsha tell you. That's your internal self, mind you. We are not talking about the natal chart here. We are talking about the 9th divisional chart in Jyotish or Vedic astrology. Please remember this. So Navamsha or the 9th divisional chart is a governing principle, and whatever 12 zodiac signs, I shall go through them one by one, is placed inside it will help you discover. Okay? Let's get to the rest of the analysis and I shall see you in the next.
Navamsha, as internal self, after 30 years maturity, after marriage. The Aries Navamsha. So let's settle into something deeper today. Something most people don't really hear about when they first enter Jyotish. We all know the birth chart, the D1, the theater of life. But there is a quieter layer beneath it, the layer you don't show the world immediately. That layer is your Navamsha. And Navamsha does not open itself fully in childhood or even in your 20s. It awakens after Saturn matures, around 30, and it reveals itself even more intimately after marriage, when another human being comes close enough to see the wiring beneath your surface personality. The Navamsha is that wiring. It's the internal code of your soul, the way you operate when your filters fall away, the way you behave when life demands authenticity. It is your internal self-view, the psychological blueprint that comes alive when you can no longer hide from yourself. And today, let's talk about Aries Navamsha, the rawest, purest, most self-forged internal engine a soul can have. If your planets fall into Aries Navamsha, I want you to listen closely, because this is not about theory. This is about the way you actually live after 30. The way you love, the way you fight, the way you walk into marriage, the way you rebuild yourself every time life knocks you down. Aries Navamsha is the place where the soul starts with nothing. No backing, no safety net, no favors. You come into adulthood realizing that nothing you imagined would save you is coming. And suddenly you discover a fire inside yourself. Have you ever felt that moment? That turning point where you quietly told yourself, fine, I'll build this myself. That is Aries Navamsha speaking. Now let's wander through each planet the way you would meet them in a story. When the sun enters Aries Navamsha, your identity becomes fiercely self-forged after 30. You stop waiting for recognition and start declaring your own worth. Do you ever notice how your sense of direction strengthens only when you stop asking others for permission? That's your sun demanding autonomy. And if this sun sits in your first house of the Navamsha, you remake yourself, physically and psychologically, after 30. If it sits in your 10th, your career becomes a battlefield where you rise only through your own fire. When the moon enters Aries Navamsha, your emotional body wakes up like a warrior. You no longer wait for someone to soothe you. You act to regulate yourself. Do you find your emotions become sharper, quicker, more honest as you age? Do you feel more restless in relationships unless there's movement, growth, challenge? If this moon sits in your 4th house, home becomes a place you reshape constantly. If it sits in your 7th, marriage becomes emotionally intense, fiery, honest to the core. When Mars is in Aries Navamsha, your drive becomes unstoppable. After 30, you can't stand stagnation anymore. You need challenge like oxygen. Have you felt that rising heat inside you, pushing you to build, break, remake, fight, create? That's Mars, unfiltered. If this Mars sits in your third house, your voice becomes sharp, fearless, competitive. If it sits in your 10th, your career becomes the arena where you dominate through sheer action. When Mercury enters Aries Navamsha, your mind becomes fast, decisive, direct. You don't tiptoe around truth anymore. Do you notice your patience thinning with slow thinkers? Do you speak more freely now without hesitation? A Mercury in the third house gives you the courage to speak boldly and create fearlessly. In the sixth house, you cut through problems at work with an almost surgical clarity. When Jupiter enters Aries Navamsha, your wisdom starts coming from your own lived experience rather than teachers or tradition. After 30, you walk your own path. Do you feel your beliefs shifting, your hunger for meaning deepening? A Jupiter in the fifth house makes you a pioneering parent or creator. In the ninth, you may restart your spiritual life altogether in mid-adulthood. When Venus enters Aries Navamsha, your desires become bold and self-authored. After 30, you no longer settle for half-hearted love. Do you notice yourself asserting your needs more clearly? Wanting passion, wanting truth, wanting presence? A Venus in the seventh house gives a marriage full of fire and magnetism, while Venus in the second house shows you building wealth through your own independent skills and tastes. When Saturn enters Aries Navamsha, you become the lone worker who learns everything the hard way, but also becomes unshakable. After 30, you want room to work alone without interference. Do you feel that need for independence in career and marriage? Saturn in the sixth house makes you the warrior of everyday battles. In the 10th, success comes slowly but transforms into a mountain you now stand upon. When Rahu enters Aries Navamsha, ambition explodes. You begin chasing things other people hesitate to even imagine. Do you feel yourself becoming bolder, hungrier, more experimental after 30? Rahu in the first house reinvents your identity completely after marriage. In the 10th, it pushes you into visible, sometimes explosive career success. And when Ketu enters Aries Navamsha, your independence becomes almost ascetic. You don't want to be controlled, guided, or excessively supported. Do you notice that you operate best when left alone? That you solve things internally, deeply, silently? If Ketu sits in the fifth house, creativity becomes otherworldly and self-contained. In the 8th, you walk through crisis like a solitary monk carrying hidden fire. So if you have planets in Aries Navamsha, your internal self is a warrior. You grow by acting. You learn by falling. You deepen through fire. And the world only sees who you truly are once you cross Saturn's threshold or enter a marriage where your inner nature becomes unavoidable. I hope today's exploration made you think a little more deeply about how your Navamsha reveals the truth you carry beneath your surface. I shall see you in the next Navamsha. Meanwhile, you take very good care of yourself today.